There you go.
Oh
I'm
my,
calling it now, baby. I'm calling
you,
it.
this is where you want to start?
This is where I want to start. This is my position on everything that's happened in the last week or so.
Just find a way to color match the the purple out with the emerald green. There you go.
There you
Wow,
go.
can't believe you got that exclusive merchandise. How would you do that?
Um, Hilary Knight sent this to me herself from the.
Oh, I mean, it's not too far. She's in Idaho right now. So, well, I guess that's our start. Welcome back. I gotta come up with a name. I don't even know if this is the first edition of the show we're gonna do, Sylvia, but I'll figure it out.
The Better Seattle Hockey Show.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I came up with this, and I won't say the name because it's a really fire headline. I hate this. That sounds so stupid. Fire headline. I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, one team, one professional hockey team in Seattle. Don't get on my ass. I mean professional. We're not counting the major junior teams here. We're not counting the teenagers. All right. Um, no. One of them like seems to be doing everything right, and then the other one is just like the like walking embodiment of like a sad trombone. It's very, hey, GM Megan Turner is leading us to the promised land, is all I'm saying. Yeah, so wanted to get on here and do something just looking at the exclusive signing window, which is essentially closed because both teams in Vancouver and Seattle have made the five signings they can, five signing maximum. Both teams reached that. It was kind of interesting talking to some people around the league and seeing some reporting that uh people weren't sure how busy the signing window was going to be, Sylvia. And then, boom, 2 days in, we're done. Like,
Everything happened.
so, I mean, I'm not complaining with how it went down, right? Some teams made interesting choices. Minnesota's, yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave Minnesota. hmm because there was a comment when I did my little update after day one where it's like, this is why they protected, insert the name, the player that we're all thinking of. They got protected by Minnesota. And I was like, mm-hmm.
If it makes sense to someone, it makes sense to someone. That someone does not have to be us.
This is true. This is very true. So yeah, we're going to talk about a few things here today. Didn't want to do anything super crazy. Again, still have to come up with name of the show and all that, and then get the cover and all that set. But obviously these are five. I feel like these are probably very solid signings. Maybe you could have swapped a one, yeah, one, but I think like of it's crazy to say that because even then we still got the expansion draft to come on Monday, right? So Sylvia, I just want to get initially your reaction to the five signings in Hilary Knight, Danielle Serdachny, Cayla Barnes, Alex Carpenter, and Corinne Schroeder. Because that's a pretty damn good list of five players, let alone the fact that they're all coming to one team.
Yeah, I mean, I know you just said, all the signings. I don't know which one is your not one. I personally think all of these signings are fantastic. The exclusive window itself is really showing that, you know, we're not the team isn't just building a team. They're like genuinely interested in building a legacy. We have Knight and Carpenter who aren't just big names, but they're foundational blocks for championship culture, which we've seen in the international play in other leagues that they've been in. Um, I think Cayla Barnes specifically is a super underrated signing in this exclusive window. She is like a stabilizer. She's played some top par minutes in Team USA. She won silver in 2022. Um, and she has that experience of shutting down some of the best players in the world, right? Because at the end of the day, we do have like this is a team where you do have the top of the top. We don't have like minor leagues. This is truly the top of the top. Um, I think Serdachny is the future of the franchise. You don't just use your like first ever, even though this technically wasn't their first announced signing, this is the first one we found out. You don't just use that slot on anyone. And I think uh GM Turner made her kind of the face, even if this wasn't the choice, but that she was kind of made the face of the Seattle signing window for a reason. And with Schroeder, Schroeder was one of the players I had in like my top three, other than Hilary Knight. I think she's a calculated bet. And truly, I think it's one I love. I know, in Seattle hockey, we've had a lot of conversations about our goalies and how are our goalies treated and, how good are our goalies. She was the top goaltender in the PHF in 2023, right? And she has shown that she can truly seal games. I think we're very lucky, and like fortunate to have these foundational players as they're coming in. I don't think that this, at least to me, this doesn't feel like an expansion team. We are like, we have players who are dominating at all levels. Um, and frankly, what impresses me the most, like my genuine base reaction, is that there's a lot of balance in this. When Megan Turner had her press conference about a week ago, we learned that for her, leadership is very important. And you have that. You have Alex Carpenter, you have Hilary Knight, we have high hockey IQ, we have youth, right? Like we have that championship pedigree again. So it's not just about signing stars. It's truly about, it feels like it's building an identity, um, which is something that I don't think, and I don't want to continue to compare this to the Seattle Kraken, but I think a lot of people will. So I'm going to start us off and end us off with this. I do think that is something the Kraken didn't do their best at. They traded their their captain right at the beginning. The with I'm not, it might be a little bit too soon to say, but for me, it personally feels like, you know, they're building an identity. They're building out an identity, and they're building out this like long history of women's hockey that we've had in Seattle. And I do feel like we're gonna do something good here.
As always, several great points from Silvia here. She'll get tired of me saying that, but no, I mean that was like Sylvia and I were both on that. Yeah, the presser that GM Megan Turner had. GM MT. Yeah, there we go.
Commit.
Different than Gumurf. Already
Commit.
making better moves than Gumurf, but here we are. Um, yeah, that is, inevitably the comparisons will happen, right? Like as someone, you know, and obviously you do as well, but like someone who's seen, the women's like covered women's sports, and then the men's sports. There's always going to be comparisons that people have. Like with the Storm, they've got this French phenom and Dominique Malonga, inevitably compared to French phenom, not phenom, Victor Wembanyama, right? Like it just people will always compare the men's and the women's sides, fortunate or not. Um, excuse me. And so yeah, I'm sure that'll happen. Like I kind of already did that with I didn't expect this to blow up when I said, "Hey, PWHL Seattle has already signed a superstar and the Kraken have not." Uh, it's unfortunate, but it's true. Like yeah, I mean, leadership is something that Megan Turner talked about in that presser to us, right? It was physicality and leadership. And I mean, to get Hilary Knight and Alex Carpenter right off the bat, that is huge for leadership. And I mean, obviously, these other players are all experienced names. I mean, Cayla Barnes is younger, sure, but still, I mean, she's represented the country on the national stage multiple times. It is funny that you've got two of the top five picks in last year's entry draft in Serdachny and Barnes. Um, I will say this. Okay, I know you mentioned it's like I don't know who you would have swapped out, and you make great points about Serdachny, right? Everything that I've been made aware of her is that she was kind of buried in Ottawa's forward group this year. Um, Maybe because of course they made the Walter Cup, they fell, but it just seems like from what I can understand is that she will benefit from a larger role, right? Um, I was thinking because I think I said this in the quick day one like recap that I did the other day, yesterday. Time is fake. That I was aware that Barnes and Carpenter were happening, and I tried to not say it too like outright, but I've already kind of gotten in trouble with breaking the news of this team anyway, so I don't think I need to pull any punches anymore. Um, Oh, I thought Bilka was next up. I thought, from what I'm understanding, that there were some discussions that were had, but it didn't get to that point. And that's not the end of the world. because there's still the draft on Monday. Like it very much could come to a head. And yeah, so I was like, maybe that could have been a swap there, Serdachny. But again, everything that I'm seeing and that obviously you have said is that this is someone who, could very well be a cornerstone for your franchise for years to come. You know, unfortunately, the career of Hilary Knight will come to an end at some point, right? And at some point, no, Sylvia's like, no, we're just gonna keep going. Yeah, I mean, I would love that, right? Oh, what was very important because there was a player media. Sorry to scare you. I did that really quick. Took a nap, and by nap I mean I fell asleep last night, and I forgot that we had media availability with a few of the players that were signed to both Vancouver and Seattle. Obviously, we only care about Seattle. Sylvia might disagree, but I only care about Seattle. What was important to me because Sylvia got these was that you know it was interesting to see that Knight had signed the 1 year deal. And I was talking to someone from Boston, and she was unaware if this was it. If hey, maybe she goes back to Boston because from what I understand, Hilary was left upset by the fact that she was unprotected. And this that came only a week or two, maybe a little bit after Hilary had announced that the Milan games would be her final international competition. Right? She said she wanted to go and win a Walter Cup. I imagine if you're with one team, you want to be with the one team. So I was like, I was a little bit worried is the point. And Sylvia got this that Hilary said, I'm not planning on going anywhere after 1 year, which is very important as I feel like it not only relieves any stress that I had, which is very that's not critical news as much as I would like it to be.
I want you to be sad.
Um, oh God. Um, saying that term doesn't reflect her commitment or promise to what they want to build in Seattle. Huge. And then you mentioned in the tweet right below it that Alex Carpenter echoed Knight's words saying that she's hoping to see where this goes in the future. So, obviously for Hilary, it's close to where, she grew up with Idaho, right? Um, which I always forget that she's from there. It's so crazy to think about. Um, you know,
I guess I thought about this. Technically, Idaho's part of the PNW.
yeah.
Personally, I've been there once. I saw maybe three trees. I
Mm.
don't know, but I'll give it to them for Hilary Knight.
Yeah, if we remove Hilary Knight from that, then it's just
Then it's
you can
literally just us. Yeah.
you can go be part of the Midwest. Yeah, no, yeah. Traditionally, I don't think it's us and then little brother Oregon down below. Um, that well, then I mean, if you want to extend to the West Coast, you pointed out that Cayla Barnes says that going back home was a reason she signed with Seattle as a West Coaster, so that's really fun.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and what
do
was
think,
crazy?
sorry.
Well, you're good. No, you're good.
I do think, I think we've talked about this, you and I, is a lot of players who have had only the chance to play in the East Coast are seeing this as a chance to come back. I know I spoke to um the Women's Seattle Hockey Club. I
Mm.
believe, yeah, their youth representative. Um, she and I've been trying to get this something about this out recently, but one thing that she emphasized is, a lot of players get to come home. And I think for people like Hilary Knight, for Cayla Barnes, that's kind of what it feels like. Where Cayla Barnes was very specific earlier in that media availability to say, my parents are excited to come out. Like this, apart from the, general geography of yes, we get to have a Seattle team, like these players who were raised in the West Coast, who were raised in Idaho, where we're not seeing a lot of, or I guess now we are, but we haven't seen a lot of this hockey presence before in a professional level. Like they get to, it's literally just like a hop, skip away at this point. It's not a whole thing that you have to, get all this PTO in. Like, that youth player said, these people get to come home. And I think that's a big pull for players like Hilary Knight. Yes, Knight said in that media availability that it was a very bittersweet moment not being protected by Boston. But again, it's a homecoming for a lot of these players who were raised in the West Coast who don't have to live their lives so far apart from their families in the East.
I believe the nice young hockey player you're talking about is it Maylee Glanzer with Women's Pro Hockey Seattle? Yes, yep, absolutely. yeah. Um, yeah, it's something that I know. Again, using referencing Vancouver, but I know Jen Gardner, who's with the Victoire, basically in her little anytime a player signs, they do the hello, they do the little video. She was uh
Screenshot that. I want to see what's on Charles's phone.
we got Instagram likes. I got a text. I got Twitter. It's not that interesting. There's no Pokemon Go on here right now, unfortunately. That'll be after I leave this. Anyway, she talked about I get to come home. And yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, that's a big thing. So, um, also what I liked because I remember this because again, I will continue to hammer this home. Not like it's like an I told you so, and you can let it be that if you want to. But CSS was one of the few outlets that was actually covering the rivalry series game when it was here in November 20th of 2022. Alex Carpenter was there for that, obviously Hilary Night Buzz, but Silvia pointed out Carpenter talked about how um shoot, I lost it. How playing here in that rivalry game was something that played a role on where she wanted to play. So, it's really cool to see stuff like that because it's like invisible strings. I remember tweeting about Corinne Schroeder 2 years ago, and I was like, "Hey, look at this really cool goalie! Wow, watch the PWHL," and now she's here. Crazy thought. Anyway, let's move on so I don't keep ranting. Um, I know you've written about it on numerous occasions, uh, with the leaders, but I just can you put some thoughts on why it's so important that Seattle has some veterans? Obviously, they're all veterans of the league at this point, which, on a technicality, but specifically with Knight and with Carpenter to have, Carpenter to wear an A, Knight's worn a C, as well as A's a lot. I imagine that's your captain. Those are two members of your leadership group right away, no question. Um, but why is that important? Because you talked about a little bit with the Kraken trading away Mark Giordano. Um, but like those two, not only are they going to be point producers as two of the top players to produce points in the league already, but they're going to be here to build the foundation of this franchise on and off the ice.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what GM Megan Turner said during that first media availability that we had with her a week ago. Where again, her focus is leadership. It's leadership and communication. And specifically starting with Hilary Knight, you're not just getting a top scorer. I think you're also getting like the standard for what excellence looks like in women's hockey. She's been the face of Team USA for over a decade. She has 10 world championship goals. She
Yeah.
just the fleet with 29 points in 30 games. So like she's been it. And with Knight, like she's been captain. You have that experience. She also, during today's availability, she talked a little bit about how she already has that relationship with Turner. So that was kind of for her, it was a bit of a pull to come, like it was kind of that final decision to come to Seattle. So having already that relationship, knowing that, whether she's your captain or not, maybe she's an A, but that like foundational leadership, um, already has that relationship with the GM where you already have a an understanding of how your team and your GM and maybe the rest of your coaching staff are going to work together. That's, we're already there. Um, Carpenter, I think, is kind of, I don't know, maybe this is a little too much, but I would call her like the ultimate like modern center.
Mm.
She's an elite on the draw, she's dangerous on the power play, but she's also a leader by example. My PC's just turned off and these are my lights. That was scary.
Uh-oh.
She's a leader by example. She captained Team USA in 2023, I think. That might be wrong. But it was World. She put up
Mm.
like 53 points across her like two PWHL seasons. And you really need players who can steer the ship, right? Or back to our like Seattle motifs, when things get wrong. And I think Carpenter really does that. Um, and what's critical in this situation and then these two picks is that they're not just two players who lead, but who also complement each other, I believe. Where like Hilary Knight, we've seen that she brings this like vocal, energizing presence. Carpenter can really complement that like on the ice tactical stability. That's like huge for like what makes a team and what makes that identity and a team that's trying to define itself. And going, back to that end of your question of like the Kraken kind of lost our captain that at the end of that first year. Um, didn't get Jordan Eberle until a while later. Like you need we've talked about this in like the Seattle Kraken show where you need somebody to rally behind. It can be your coach. We kind of had that with Dan Bialsmo, rest in peace. But like we you definitely do need somebody to rally behind. You need somebody who's like letting you know this is our goal, this is what we're going to do. The Kraken didn't have that for a really long time. That's why we are where we are now. With the PWHL Seattle getting these two leaders, like this leadership immediately from the get-go, who have leadership experience at the most elite level. I cannot like I have this. I'm saying it now. I do not imagine that we're not gonna at least the playoffs. Like, come on.
I mean, it just goes back to like the hope and expectation for this franchise right away. Like, hate me if you want, but it feels like again, PWHL Seattle is doing everything right, and the Kraken are one is a sinking ship, the other is ascending forward. Like that's yeah, I feel like playoffs at a minimum feels pretty solid, just given what you're doing here. Again, not only the fact that you've got this exclusive window, you've got this expansion draft, but also we don't know yet. I know that we're supposed to hear right after the expansion draft from some of the folks with the league, as well as both general managers. We're supposed to find out how the entry draft will work right after the expansion draft. But both expansion teams should have a good starting pick at some point, right? It's always different with expansion teams and knowing that the PWHL is a little bit different. We don't know the entry draft, the expansion draft order until Monday night. So yeah, no, I mean, just I've thought about this for a while because I know you and I talked about it, and I've talked to other folks about it with the Kraken, but the whole leadership by committee group, leadership by leadership group. Sorry to say it, that sounds so stupid. Um, you get what I'm saying, right? Like, yeah, there wasn't enough of that, like there wasn't one person to rally behind. There wasn't one player that we're going to say, hey, who do I look to when we need it? Who's going to set the example? Who's going to set the? We didn't have that. And it was like, yes, you have a solid leadership group. Sure, fine, whatever. But, you know, certainly this isn't going to be the case here. Like GM Megan Turner's not going to allow that to happen. Uh, Certainly Hilary Knight wouldn't allow that to happen as your captain, right? I don't imagine Alex Carpenter is going to like just allow it to passively take place. So no, I mean that part does excite me. Maybe I'm buying into what Mint is selling me, but I mean, you know, so uh did you have thoughts on that? Sorry, I didn't want to skip it if you did.
No, I mean, one thing as a lesbian, one thing you can always trust on
Speaking
is a
as
woman.
lesbian,
As speaking as a lesbian for the lesbian community, you can always trust in women. Um, in in women hockey players, in women hockey in general. Watch the games. They won't let you down.
yeah, I mean that's becoming apparently like not apparently like more prevalent. I was talking to our ultimate frisbee writer because there's a men's and a women's team, right? The women's team is going to championship weekend. The men's team is 1-6.
Oh Lord. I didn't realize we had an ultimate frisbee team
Two of them.
too.
Basically, men can't do shit. I mean,
Happy Pride.
speaks to the track record. Storm have 4 titles. Like, oh, Seahawks. Seahawks have one. Mm, mm. Anyway, um, I think you already might have answered this, so maybe I'm assuming, but do you have like a best is there a best signing for this team? Because again, I mean, we talk about the potential of Danielle Serdachny, like that's big, and that could be someone who we look to as it's tough with an expansion team, right? Because you can't just be like that's your best player of all time, because then it's like, oh, we're a few years in. But I mean, that's technically true. Like, what is Jared McCann the best Kraken of all time? I mean, I don't know. He's a youth pastor, that's for sure. Um, But then you could also look at other factors like Hilary Knight for what she's going to bring as a contributor, in the games itself. And then the leader certainly could be that. I don't know. Do you have, a best signing in this window, or is that like maybe too complicated?
No, I do. Um, I do have a best signing because okay, so when we worked on that mock draft, right? Hilary
Yes.
Knight was kind of like, our no duh. If she's unprotected, you gotta bring her back to the PNW, bring her home. Like that was very obvious. Cayla Barnes, like I said, she is for me not like the best signing, but I think she is the most underrated signing. I think she kind of slips under the radar. Um, Best signing overall. I'm gonna go with Alex Carpenter by a mile.
Okay.
Here's why. I think kind of like Hilary Knight, she was available. They left her unprotected. Seattle pounced. That's, high level front office work from Megan Turner, just in general. We're winning right at the get-go. Um, from, watching Carpenter play, I was also at that rivalry series. I was in the stands though with my family. I'm trying to teach my mom what hockey means in Spanish. But watching her play just like because the PWHL is very accessible. They have YouTube streams that you can very easily watch. Carpenter has this like rare, well, I don't know if it's rare, but she has this very unique ability to her in the way that she controls the pace. She
Hmm.
doesn't create often. She like dictates the flow of the game, and it's fascinating to watch. She can drop into the D zone, break out clean. It's fascinating, and she can literally just finish a play herself. She is a one-woman hockey team very often. Um, those 19 goals and like 24 assists over 2 seasons. She has like 18 power play points. Um, I wouldn't even just say she's producing, but like she's producing in moments that win you playoff games. She is
I
a
see.
highlight reel in and of itself. She also, she plays like a coach's dream. And once we get that coaching staff, I would love to see that like connection and that interaction. She's very responsible. I would say, her positioning is flawless. Very Beyonce like. And she's always moving with purpose. And like in a brand new locker room, again, you're trying to build that identity. You're trying to get players to buy in. You're trying to get coaches, fans to buy in, to buy seats, to fill seats. Um, I think Alex Carpenter is kind of irreplaceable. That one year, we talked earlier about how that it was only a 1 year plan. She also, or 1 year contract. She also said, much like Hilary Knight, she's gonna see where it takes her. If it comes to where like Carpenter is like, I'm done with hockey, I would love to see her stay
Hmm.
in a like front office position, coaching position. Same with Hilary Knight. Our much like in the NHL with my dear beloved Evgeny Malkin, our like our superstars are aging, right? And with the
Yeah.
addition of the PWHL team, we have more positions opening for these leaders to go in and like teach the new generation in front office, in the coaching positions. Um, and I think just by getting Alex Carpenter in the door as a player, we get that like if not promise of longevity, then at least a like, hey, you can always come back. You know the system. Pretty please. Begging on my knees. That rhymed. That was actually pretty good.
Wow. Hey, Dr. Seuss. Um, yeah, no, that is, I didn't even think of, well, that's the thing is when I was getting ready to do this with you, right? I kind of forgot. We don't have a coach yet. We don't have the coaching staff. Just say, hey, have suit, have hockey gear. Hilary Knight, Alex Carpenter, lead, go and coach. You're hurt. Okay, put the suit on. Stand behind the bench. Yeah, no, that I mean, it would be really interesting to see that. Oh, Jesus. Sorry. It's getting close to summer. We got giant flies. Um, I do wonder about that. I mean, that's hopefully more of a long-term thing. Hopefully we don't have to talk about that for a while, right? Um, you know, but yeah, you certainly wonder about some of the legends of this game, if they transition over. I would love to see that. I don't want it to be like the NHL where it's like the same five old white men playing musical chairs. One of them breaks a hip occasionally. Like, you know, I get tired of that. So, I mean, yeah, that's certainly something to keep an eye on. But oh, I'm sorry, and maybe you feel this way as well. I'm very excited to just get going, but also obviously we have a long way to do that, and part of that is documenting the like. I didn't really, God damn it, get to document the Kraken starting. I mean, it was technically around, but it was very much like, hey, here's Canva. I'm gonna try my very best. Like I've got more tools to do that now. So, I didn't have a Silvia to lean on. Jesus Christ, that would have been nice. Fucking Christ.
Oh,
Anyway, it's tough, tough indeed. So I guess that leads me lastly to wrap us up here. What are you looking for in the draft on Monday? I mean, there are still a ton of talented players available. Just again, like I already mentioned Hannah Bilka, but like the fact that Grace Zumwinkle is still available from Minnesota is somewhat fascinating. Maybe I'm looking too much forward wise, and that's sure. Daniela Peshova is someone that I've heard good things about. I might have totally butchered that name. I feel bad. Um, Emily Brown, I keep looking at Boston. Maybe I shouldn't look, especially with how they fell apart. You'll need a backup goaltender. I wonder where you go there because it's not like you've got a shortage of options. Either you get Nicole Hensley or Kristen Campbell and Colin. I don't. Well, maybe I don't know. It's tough because those are starting caliber goalies. I don't know. What are you looking for in the expansion draft? I'm getting two in my head about this because you also did get three picks correct from your from the article there.
all right. I listen, one thing about me, I've never been wrong in my life. And even when I am, no, I'm not. Um, yeah, I think for the draft, I think one good thing, we're in a really good position where Seattle has already nailed their core, basically, right? So we're looking for depth and role players at this point, especially on that blue line. I am something about me. I love a good defender. I'm a defender lover. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go heavy on like puck moving defenders or like
Mm,
motor wingers, someone fast, someone like that's something Turner mentioned during that availability again, where she wants fast players. She wants somebody who can get from one side of the rink to the other. Right now we only have Cayla Barnes signed.
yes.
She's phenomenal, and we're looking for a partner for her. I believe, honestly, I don't have the mock draft off the top of my head. I don't know where my notebook went. I think I have Erin Ambrose on that draft.
But she
I
got protected.
Yeah. Does she? Am I wrong? Am I?
She got protected.
Ugh,
As soon
every
as
day,
I saw that, I was like, shit.
every day I lose. Anyway, I think a
But you
veteran,
just said you
whatever.
don't.
No, well, I'm never wrong. That does not mean I'm not
Oh,
losing.
there you go.
Yeah.
Sorry. My bad.
No. I think alongside Cayla Barnes, I think we need an experienced defender. I do think a veteran would really, build that blue line for us. You mentioned goalie support. Another veteran tandem would be fantastic. Not to bring up the Kraken again, but I think, building something steady, something stabilizing early on. We're picking from like the best of the best in the world. That's a place you want to start, is your goalie tandem. And also, like, one thing I'm keeping an eye on during this draft is chemistry, just chemistry in general. We've seen a lot of expansion teams kind of stumble when they focus purely on talent, where maybe a goalie is stabbed in the back later on. Seattle seems intent on culture, right? We've heard that from Turner. She's intent on building something lasting. So I'm expecting them to draft for locker room fit as much as impact. Again, we're focusing on leadership and communication. I'm looking for that chemistry in the players that are coming in to fill in this locker room.
Yeah, that is a big thing. I mean, I always worry about that with expansion teams, right? Because there are the outliers, right? With expansion teams in general in sports that do well. Of course, the Vegas Golden Knights and everything that exists about them and their tacky sparkle jerseys. They don't typically do well to begin, right? I mean, obviously we've seen that here. It's tough because I get the new shiny toy that is PWHL Seattle, and it's like Toy Story where I drop Woody on the ground. It's the Seattle Kraken. I don't want to play
Yeah,
with you
but
anymore.
you're kind of not just okay, not to defend the Kraken here because I would never. But you're not
Oh,
just like dropping Woody on the ground, you're also kind of kicking Woody and like spitting him on him a little bit. And that's, you know what, that's your prerogative. I'm just pointing out what I'm saying.
Sure, sure. I mean, if you want to go and hire Lane Lambert, sure. That we're not gonna get into it. We're not gonna get into it.
Wrong podcast.
Um. Uh. Yeah. No. That you make good points though. I am really interested to see how Lumet handles the goaltender position because maybe you don't want to have two veteran attendees who probably will need to both get starting minutes to be at their best to try and like handle the decision of, hey, how am I going to handle playing you two, right? Like that is something to think about in that regard. You know, but yeah, veteran D, because yeah, I've kind of unfortunately unintentionally shoved away Cayla Barnes, and that's not at all what I was trying to do. Because it was really fascinating to see that I think she led Montreal in minutes this past season as a rookie, or was near the top of that, and was tied for the lead in point scores among blue liners for them against a Victoire team that was what I think the top seed in the playoffs this season.
Mhm.
I think, yeah. So it's all good stuff. So anyway, we'll be doing some stuff. Got to figure out schedules, of course, but obviously the draft is on Monday. I plan to be at Rough and Tumble doing a live stream there. Hopefully, I don't have too many libations. We'll see. No one needs to see me drunk on stream. I giggle a lot, so we'll see. Um, Sylvia's like, "What in the hell is this?"
I will be here at home.
Celebrating when
Drinking
Emini
another red.
Malkin is named head coach of PWHL Seattle. He says, "Screw it. I'm tired of Pittsburgh." Um, yeah. So I guess until we see you, I'll probably do something Monday. Until we see you, then take care of yourselves. Be well. Do whatever you can to make today a good day. Yes, someone who does this. Hey everybody, Charles Hamaker here from Circling Seattle Sports with
Jen Barnes from Rough and Tumble.
Jen. What is Rough and Tumble for Circling Seattle Sports?
Your home. The home for Circling Seattle Sports.
I like it. Let's do one more take, just a little bit.
Hey there everybody, Charles Hamaker here from Circling Seattle Sports with
Jen Barnes from Rough and Tumble.
Jen. Where's the home of Circling Seattle Sports?
Right here at Rough and Tumble.
Hi, Charles Hamaker here from Circling Seattle Sports with
Jen Barnes from Rough and Tumble.
Glad to join you here from Rough and Tumble, home of Circling Seattle Sports.
I love
Okay.
Up that out, Chuck. Okay, I'm ready.
Hello everybody, Charles Hamaker here from Circling Seattle Sports with
Jen Barnes from Rough and Tumble. Start over.
I forgot what I was saying.
I think you waved in the first one.
We did at the
Yeah.
end.
Oh, at the end. Okay, that's what. Okay, cool.
You just couldn't see our hands.
And now it looks like you're holding your hands, so that's kind of weird.
Here's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you actually have a little room to come this way too.
Okay.
Just no further than that.
Yes, Lieutenant Dan.
And go.
Oh, I think this time I'll ask you, what's the home? Where?
Yeah, say, where's the home of Circling Seattle Sports?
Okay.
And I'll be like, right here at Rough and Tumble.
Hand good?
Yeah.
Yeah, your other hand. Put your fingers together just a little bit more. Not like that. There you go. It was just like.
Clawing at me.
Okay, I'm still recording, so go ahead.
Okay.
Start when you're ready.